Hello, Ken. This is my Michigan State versus Penn State post-game analysis. Remember to like, subscribe, comment, and hit that notification bell down below. I do appreciate it. How about that? How about that win? It was dirty, it was wet, it was snowy, it was ugly, and we found a way to win yet again. Most importantly, we found a way to win. No, it wasn't pretty. Peyton Thorne, quite frankly, had a bad game. He did. Um, Kenneth Walker bounced back and had a nice game. Our defense still struggled a little bit at times. But much like the rest of the season, outside of a couple games, we found a way to get the job done. And I got to be honest with you, if you were to tell me that we would end with 10 wins this year, I would say no way. So yeah, losing to Ohio State is disappointing, especially after seeing what Michigan was able to do to them. But we got to remember to look at the season at the whole, and honestly, to be 10-2 at this point is amazing. Nobody thought we would be here. I didn't think we'd be here, and so credit to Mel Tucker and the team. Great job, great season, and now we just wait and see where we end up in the bowl game. All right, so let's get to the predictions. How did we end up? Well, I did predict that we would win by 10. Didn't quite happen, but we did get the win. It was a little bit closer than I thought it would end up being, but also Sean Clifford played, and I didn't think that he would. I predicted that Kenneth Walker would have over 150 yards and a couple touchdowns, I think, which he didn't quite get there, but he was pretty close. 30 carries for 138 yards and 1 touchdown. It's a pretty solid day, especially for a guy who is a little banged up and getting over the flu, basically. So pretty solid day from him, and I predicted our defense would end up with 1 or 2 interceptions. Didn't quite happen. Clifford did a good job taking care of the football. So things didn't play out exactly the way that I thought they would, but we did get the win, and that's what's most important. That's all I really care about. Predictions are all fun and fine and dandy, but I'd rather have a victory than be right. So that's it. Those are my thoughts on that. I'm going to wrap it up. No, I'm just kidding. Let's talk about the game a little bit more. Clifford did end up playing. I had a pretty good day, really. Jahan Dotson had a really nice game. 8 receptions, 137 yards, and 2 touchdowns. I really thought we'd do a better job of limiting him. He's really the only receiving threat that you really have to care about. And I was surprised that we did not double team him more, especially on some of those short slant routes that they use to convert first downs. I mean, you got to have your eyeballs on him. He's the man. He's the guy of that offense, and to allow him some of those easy catches was not great. But overall, our defense did enough, made enough plays to get the job done. Ended up with 4 sacks. That's really good. Our defensive line played better this week. I felt like our defensive line was going to play pretty good against Ohio State. They didn't. That's why we lost. They played better, much better against Penn State. We won. This defense really only is ever as good as this defensive line is. And, when they struggle, the defense struggles as a whole. When they play well, the defense looks much better. So it was a good job by the defensive line. We ended up with 4 sacks as a team. 4 sacks and 3 quarterback hurries. So making life as difficult on Sean Clifford as we can. Offensively, how do we do? Peyton Thorne had a rough game. He had some really bad throws. 1 interception that was just a really bad throw. He had a couple other ones where he just threw it into bad spots, and Penn State, fortunately for us, was not able to capitalize on those mistakes. But he was 19 of 30 for 268 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception, 95 QBR. Now, when I read those stats off, you're going to say, that doesn't sound like a bad game. No, it doesn't. And he definitely played better late in the game, which helped us get the win. But, man, there were some throws where I was like, this isn't Peyton Thorne. This is not, I don't know if he was sick, if he too was battling the flu and was a bit off his game. Yeah, he put up some pretty decent numbers, but this is a Penn State team that defensively isn't really that good. So for him to be making the throws that he was, it was just, it was odd to me. Those were not plays that we've seen Peyton Thorne. Those were not mistakes we'd seen him make so far this year. And so maybe I'm focusing a little bit on the negative. Sure, I would accept that argument when I say that he played poorly. But I'm saying he played poorly not because statistically he was bad, but because he was just making mistakes he doesn't normally make. And so that was a bad game for him. Obviously, he was able to right the ship, and he made plays when they needed to be played. That throw to Kenneth Walker, kind of at the front corner of the end zone, was mostly or not Walker to Jaden Reed. The front corner of the end zone was, I mean, yeah, that was all Reed, but it was also Peyton Thorne had to put the ball in a spot where his guy would have the advantage in going up to get it. It's exactly what he did. He put it right over Reed's head, allowed Reed to go up and high point it and box out the defender. And if that ball's a little bit to the left towards the defender, then it's probably broken up. So yeah, I'm gonna be harsh on Peyton Thorne a little bit because he made some uncharacteristic mistakes, but he also made up for it late in the game. So I know it feels like I'm grilling him a lot, and I probably am, but only because he was making mistakes that I felt like were uncharacteristic. That those were mistakes that he doesn't normally make, putting the ball into danger like that. He did also add quite a bit on the ground, 8 carries, 39 yards, and 1 touchdown. So, I'm looking at the stats here. I'm like, man, I feel like he played worse than statistically it is showing on the stat sheet right now. So, maybe I'm being a little too harsh. Maybe my memory is doing a little bit of injustice for Peyton Thorne. I accept that argument. But again, I'm just lingering on the uncharacteristic mistakes. He really threw the ball into some bad areas. And, that QBR comes down quite a bit if Penn State actually catches the passes that were thrown to their defensive backs. Because there were a couple. Let's be honest. There were a couple balls that went right to the defense, and they just dropped it. So, obviously, his stats get a lot uglier if the defense makes those grabs. So, yeah, I mean, we'll just call it an average game for Peyton Thorne. He had some uncharacteristic mistakes, but he also made some plays. So, I will raise my grade up for him for average. Kenneth Walker, like I said, a good game for a guy who is coming off an injury. I think he's still hampered a little bit by that ankle injury, and who was reportedly had the flu this week. 30 carries for 138 yards and 1 touchdown is nothing to bat an eye at. That was a really solid game for a guy under the circumstances that he was in. Collins added 5 carries for 19 yards, so gave him a little bit of a breather here and there. Reed, 6 receptions, 89 yards, 1 touchdown. Connor Hayward, 4 for 60. It's a pretty good day for him. Malik Carr, 2 for 51. Pretty excited to see Malik Carr get some looks. I think he's been due a little bit. I think they should have been looking to use him in the offense a little bit more, especially with Naylor out. So that was nice to see. Foster had a couple nice grabs, 4 receptions, 41 yards. So, it was a good team effort. It was a good team win, and that's just kind of the way we've rolled this year. Everybody is contributing. Everybody's got to pitch in and do their job, and that's just how we win games. It's never going to be the prettiest. It's never going to be fantastic. I shouldn't say never. I mean, we did have some pretty nice games this year, but it's a whole team effort, and sometimes we win dirty, and all that we've really cared about this year is finding a way to win. Keep chopping, as Mel Tucker would say. That's just it. That's all we're going to do. We're just going to keep coming at you, and we're going to keep coming at you until we finally break through. And when we do break through, we're not going to let you back in it, and that's how we win games. So that's what happened in this one. It was snowy. It was ugly. It was, conditions weren't great by any stretch of the imagination. But we found a way to win. And I'm wondering if part of the problem with Peyton Thorne's passing today and putting it into bad places is because the ball was wet. I think that had something to do with it as well. I think he was having a hard time of getting a good grip on the ball, and so he was throwing it inaccurately because of that. So I'm not trying to make excuses for him. Sean Clifford is playing in the same conditions, and he had a better game statistically, 23 of 34, 313 yards and 3 touchdowns. But at the same time, if the ball's wet, then obviously you're not going to play your best game in the whole world. So, it is what it is. I'm gonna keep this short and sweet. It's a good way to end the regular season. We do end 10-2, far above what anybody would have predicted. So I'll take it. It was a great season. It's a great first full season for Mel Tucker and company. We got him locked up for a long-term deal, and the future's looking bright. It really is. I'm pretty excited for the seasons to come. I'm excited to see what bowl game we end up in, and we'll see who we get matched up with. But now it's just a waiting game. We'll wait and see when the dust settles and the bowls are announced. So that's it. That's all I got on this one. Remember, all love, all the time. Peace.